first heard about Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I was conflicted. The previous game, Donkey Kong Country Returns, was a game I really wanted to like, but something about it felt sluggish, and I was worried this would carry over into the sequel. It wasn't until I went back to Donkey Kong Country Returns after playing Tropical Freeze that I finally realized what was wrong. Donkey Kong wasn't too slow, rather, the game around him was too fast, making him seem slow. The original Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country games were primarily focused on the flow of level design. The game almost had sort of a rhythmic quality to how you play it. DKC Returns tried to recreate this sort of fluidity, but instead of everything lining up just right for the perfect run, it seemed to constantly set traps that exploit limitations in Donkey Kong's movement. Presumably, this is to create intense moments where you barely survive by the skin of your teeth, but instead it meant I was constantly taking damage, missing jumps, and stumbling into obstacles. Fortunately, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a more relaxed game. All of the ultra-strict, timing-sensitive actions of the original DKC Returns have been made significantly more forgiving. No longer does it feel like the game is actively trying to trick you into dying, freeing you up to explore levels at your own pace. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but ended up being welcome just the same. Some of Tropical Freeze's relaxed difficulty comes in the form of new Kong friends you'll team up with. Diddy and his jetpack are back from DKC Returns, but new to this game are Cranky Kong with his pogo cane, and most importantly, Dixie Kong. Dixie Kong's role is more directly analogous to something like the Flutter Jump in Yoshi's Island, and out of the three available Kongs, she provides the largest safety net against Tropical Freeze's many pitfalls. The game lets you stock up on many more safety nets too, including balloons to bail you out of bottomless pits and extra health too. Best of all, unlike DKC Returns, you can stack many items on top of each other, empowering the player with the tools necessary to push through roadblocks without all the emasculation of Nintendo's old Super Guide system. Free of the overwhelming stress of DKC Return's strict timing mechanics, Tropical Freeze gets an opportunity to stretch its legs and come into its own. DKC Returns kind of lacked an identity. In terms of level themes, it was clearly trying to evoke the original Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. That never quite worked out for me because the game felt like it was trapped between trying to be unique while also playing off of nostalgia. It wasn't new enough, but it wasn't really old enough either. Tropical Freeze, on the other hand, owns its identity. Sure, you're still collecting bananas in jungles and forests, but now they feel more unique and less like cloying nostalgia. This frees the game up to go in some new, interesting locales, like an African savanna or an entire world themed around giant fruit. What really sets Tropical Freeze apart are the little things, like levels that transition seamlessly from dry land to underwater swimming areas, or levels that go from 2D to pseudo 3D on the fly. But what ended up being unexpectedly interesting was the expansion of tiny banana challenges peppered around every level. Tropical Freeze frequently presents you with groups of bananas, and if you collect them quickly enough, you're usually offered a reward. You wouldn't think so initially, but this subtly changes how you view levels. Suddenly, getting every single banana becomes vitally important, because any given group could reveal an important bonus item. It puts a different kind of emphasis on collectibles, and turns the act of collection itself into a series of super brief minigames. It's one more tool to engage the player in the act of playing the game, and you can't really argue with that. Despite everything else, don't think Tropical Freeze has been dumbed down or made too easy. While the game isn't quite as punishing as DKC Returns, it still offers a very stiff challenge, especially as you near the end of the game. If that's still not enough for you, the Secret K challenge levels from Donkey Kong Country Returns make a second appearance in Tropical Freeze. Like in the original game, these K levels frequently walk a thin line between being difficult and just plain unfair, with lots of nasty level design specifically created to catch you off guard. In general, Tropical Freeze contains a significantly larger number of secret levels overall, so much so that even though the game only contains roughly 6 worlds, it still comes pretty close to having the same number of levels as DKC Returns. All of this adds up to a game that feels both deeper and more accessible, but if there was one area that felt like it went relatively untouched from DKC Returns, it would be the boss encounters. Simply put, a lot of the boss encounters in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze all feel like they could be a final boss in other lesser games. Nintendo typically adheres to the ancient rule of threes, but here it's more like the rule of 3 times 3, as each boss takes 9 hits to defeat. This leads to frequently tedious, overblown battles, most of which are spent waiting for the boss to screw up and make itself vulnerable to a counterattack. These kind of boss encounters are quickly becoming a pet peeve of mine. If I have to wait around for a boss to make the same mistake 2, 3, 4 times in a row, well, that seems a little ridiculous, doesn't it? There are shortcuts to speed things up sometimes, but that doesn't make boss encounters feel any less tedious. Nothing sucks more than spending minutes fighting a boss only to die near the end and have to start the whole long, protracted sequence over from the beginning. Tropical Freeze is a game I wanted to replay and perfect, but nothing about these boss encounters makes me want to experience them ever again. Opposite of tedious boss encounters, if there was one area where the game felt a little too forgiving, it would definitely be in the lives department. Some would argue that lives are a holdover of the arcade era, and that's a fair assumption. When a player would run out of lives in, say, the original Donkey Kong, that meant your game was over and you had to put in more quarters to keep playing. Given that arcade machines are a forgotten relic, most modern games have abolished live systems entirely, opting to instead checkpoint you every 5 minutes and offer infinite chances to try again after you die. But there's still an unmistakable feeling of discovery in obtaining extra lives in a game like Super Mario Bros. 3, and the threat of a looming game over screen can add a sense of tension where there normally isn't any. Tropical Freeze wants to have it both ways. Though this game definitely has a classic live system, you are constantly inundated with so many 1-ups that collecting them quickly becomes a moot point. Just by the end of the second world, I was already approaching 99 lives, and I wasn't even going out of my way to collect them. Even in some of the hardest levels in the game, you'll usually finish them with more lives than you started with. You get 1-ups for collecting bananas, you get 1-ups for killing enemies, you get 1-ups for using your special team-up attack, 1-ups for completing bonus rooms, 1-ups for finishing levels, 1-ups for picking your nose, 1-ups for stubbing your toe? It's completely ridiculous and defeats the whole purpose of having a live system. 1-ups used to be the most coveted pickups in gaming, and Tropical Freeze quickly makes you numb to any enjoyment you would have otherwise felt from getting one. I'll be honest with you. I was ready to put Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on blast for the sins committed by DKC Returns. That's not entirely fair of me, but I was so frustrated that I really did have Donkey Kong Country Returns pegged as the poster child for everything I didn't like about retro sequels like New Super Mario Bros., Sonic 4, and even Rayman Origins. The funny thing about sequels is that it's an opportunity to identify what went wrong on the first game and make it better the next time around. Tropical Freeze does this masterfully. It's more accessible without sabotaging what the first game did well, and adds a lot of subtle little touches that make exploring levels feel more rewarding. It's still not quite perfect, but you can't really go wrong with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's our first one in HD. I'm sorry if things look a little blurry, but as you can tell, this took an exceptionally long time to put together thanks to the new video capture hardware I bought back in February. Making the footage contained within this video play nice with Sony Vegas took literally weeks to figure out, and I could fill an entire separate video with swear words about just how awful the Roxio GameCap HD Pro is. I know I said I'd never do it, but a surprising number of people have encouraged me to look into crowdfunding for new video capture hardware, so stay tuned to my Tumblr blog just in case I work up enough courage to actually go through with it. And even if you aren't interested in throwing money at me, check out the links on screen anyway, because I love to create stuff and you'll probably find something you like. Thanks for watching, tell your friends, and once again, I'll see you guys next time.